Welcome back to Cultivated Live. We are here at Planet 13. We are watching tens of thousands of gummies be made in real time over here.
So many gummies.
But more importantly, we are joined right now by Khadijah Tribble.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you for making time.
Of course. Like I said, when Jay asks, you say yes.
Well, I told you that right before we came on that one of the great joys of working in cannabis, but even beyond that, was you helped arrange, I interviewed you and Fab Five Freddy twice. And immediately after I did that, I sent a text to my brother with the picture of me and Fab. I was like, Matt, look at this. This is everything.
Yep.
And you did it twice because we also did an event with you in Brooklyn. What have you been up to? Well, first of all, thank you for that. But also, what have you been up to?
So a lot of rest over the last 6 or 7 months, staying hydrated and minding my business has led to a couple of fun projects that I'm working on. One of them is launching my own cannabis brand with 3 fabulous women of color. We feel like there's an opportunity in the marketplace to really address some of the needs that have gone unmet for that particular population. So that's coming soon. We're in great talks, so I'm excited about that. I'm teaching Rutgers Law School, and I did a stint at the Kennedy School last spring. So I am enjoying being able to have the flexibility to be in cannabis when I want to, and I can pop out when I want to.
It's good to be able to step back sometimes.
Oh my God, because everything moves so fast in cannabis, right? And sometimes you just have to take a moment and say, wow, right? And thinking about, since our interview 2 years ago now, so much has happened in the space, right?
Yes.
We're talking about federal legalization, descheduling. That wasn't even a whisper 2 years ago, right? And there's this global conversation about UN treaties and all of the stuff that's happening. Because we're at a tipping point right now, right? 51 or 52% of the population in the U.S. lives in a state that sells marijuana in a regulated fashion. It's pretty awesome.
And 100% of people live in states that sell it in an unregulated fashion, too.
100%, right?
But Khadijah, I think, and I don't know when this story will be written, but the story of cannabis in the U.S., there will be these markers of, I would say, things that everybody saw. And I say that because your TED Talk is one of those things. And it's not just me saying that, like millions of people have seen it because you can actually track that. Yeah. Do people reference that to you all the time or just me?
I was somewhere last night. I was at the Flower Hire party last night, and someone was like, I saw your TED Talk. I was like, and when I did that TED Talk, I wasn't working for any company, right? I had Marijuana Matters. I just founded that. But that was really my personal connection to cannabis, right? If you see that TED Talk, you can understand why I move in this space the way that I do. Because it is deeply personal to me, right? As a consumer, as someone who's a caregiver, and as someone who's tried to help my children navigate what it means to have a cannabis conviction while they want to be in the space. But a lot of good stuff since that 5 years ago, I think I did that talk. Maybe 4. Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you.
I think people, and I say this to you in person, but also to when you're not around too, it should be required viewing for anybody who works in the space. As like in the Cannabis 101 intro too, that should be required viewing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Go run those numbers up. Get us to 3 million.
So what are you teaching about? You said you taught at Rutgers, Kennedy School. What are you teaching about? What are students interested in learning?
So one of the things that I wanted to do, because, for all intent and purpose, we're still a fairly new regulated industry. And we are experiencing all of the challenges that comes with that in terms of building the talent and the leadership capacity in this industry. And I don't take this lightly. But it is our responsibility for those of us who are in it for the long haul, because people jump in because it's sexy, it's cute, until you get in and you realize, baby, you're going 8 hours a week.
It's not that sexy.
Right? It's not cute and sexy, right? But for those of us who are in it for the long haul, we have got to build the confidence that everyone that keeps, for the folks who are naysayers about cannabis, which means we have to build the capacity of our leaders to lead in the moment that we're in now. We're struggling with leadership in cannabis, right? We've seen this mass exodus of really incredible talent because we've hit, a hard place over the last 2 years from an economic standpoint. Now it's the time to double down. And so I went back to the Kennedy School because I really wanted to talk about this context of building the professional capacity of folks who are building a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like, we're in the beginning of that. I know 10, 20 years from now, we're going to be like, that was nothing. But it really is something special to be in this space right now to help the U.S. figure out how we legalize cannabis in a way that's inclusive of all communities, that gives us the ability to compete with pharma, alcohol, and tobacco, really.
I was actually going to say just a quick...
Yeah.
I think it's funny. You're talking about building an industry, and literally they're building as we speak. Like, I feel like we should reference the fact that we can hear construction noise. I don't know if everybody else can, because they are literally building the consumption lounge that they hope to get licensed here on site at Planet 13. So you're thinking of it a broader context, but it actually, in a very literal context today, right there.
But it's very, very true. Literally and figuratively, we're building something incredible. And we want the kind of leaders that are able to really handle the moment. And I think for me, going back into the academic space was to get to that. How do I help build the capacity of our leaders and invite other people into the cannabis space to help us build something that's quite, remarkable?
Yeah, I've been guest lecturing at a university in Michigan, and the class last year and the class this year, and one of the things that I thought about a lot after leaving MJ Biz last year was actually that the intellectual property of the industry is wrapped up in the people. Yeah. And so how do we do a better job of translating that and sharing that information, not just for the leaders who are in it today, but for the leaders who come tomorrow. But also, it's like there are so many learnings that are wrapped up in individuals that could service and help other people, specifically in other states that are not going to be competitive today.
Right.
And instead of being so secretive or protective of this information, the application is always going to need to be unique. So I'm like, how do we make information more accessible? Right. What are the things that we can share that everybody should have a base understanding of? My personal things like retail education, but the pieces of coming in and sharing that information are so important.
Right.
What's one thing that, to Jeremy's point earlier, is like, what's one question that you kind of reoccurringly get from people outside of the industry asking you about the industry today?
So I spent a lot of time, especially over the last 3 or 4 months, in the product development space. So I'm talking to consumers all across the country. And one of the things that's really consistent is this safe for me, right? I think we've been growing at like this incredible pace as more states come online, and we've missed a real opportunity, but I think it's time to get it back, is the education of cannabis at several different intersection points. Our regulators need to be educated about cannabis in a very real way. Like, how do you create the infrastructure to build a marketplace that can be successful for your state or your local municipality? But the other piece is consumer education. There are tons of people looking and ready to replace their wine, alcohol, looking to replace the things that they use for pain or sleep over pharmaceuticals. They want something that may be more natural to them, right? Is cannabis an answer? It can be. But we have to, as an industry, get really serious about consumer education and bringing the would-be consumer along with us on this journey. And I think an answer, because how do we get information to people? We should talk and discuss whether we want to do a white paper together. Like, what have we learned as folks who are in the academic space wearing our cannabis hat that we can expose other people to by writing? I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn writing things, so maybe we can come up with a joint paper.
I like this.
Are we doing a collaboration?
I think we're doing a collab.
I think we just committed.
That's what women do.
Khadijah,
We do.
I like it a lot. Khadijah, I do want to thank you, and now I've backed people up all day, and we have a whole bunch. But I really do want to thank you, one, for coming and saying yes, but also for the time you've given over time, both to me personally and things I do, but also to the cause.
Thank you.
Because I think it takes leaders like you, before, now, and in the future, that'll get to this point where 20 years from now, they'll be like, oh yeah, those were some rough spots, but people like Khadijah help sail through that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, and
You got it.
congratulations on this venture.
Oh, you got it.
You got to invite me back.
Oh, well, don't worry about that. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
It was nice talking to you.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you.
Khadijah.
All right. Bye-bye.